We know that chickens, when we adjust chickens, they gain faster. 74% of consumers prefer a chiropractically adjusted chicken.
Today on Time We Discuss, I have Dr. O with me. Dr. O, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This is going to be a good one. So you are an animal chiropractor, and I love these. Whenever I do these segments, I love the ones I've never heard of. I never would have imagined you can cross chiropractics with what I envision is kind of like veterinary science. So I'm going to let you do all the talking because I could be way off on this. Tell us, what is an animal chiropractor? What's it like being that?
It's very rewarding to be an animal chiropractor. As a veterinarian, which is where I started, I've got to work with animals every day, which of course, was my dream job, I thought, because, oh my gosh, I can help all these animals. I can help all these animals. But there's so many animals that we couldn't help. And owners would get frustrated and we'd spend more money on diagnostics. And now you can get an MRI for a dog or a horse, costs you about 10 grand. And now we have a diagnosis, but guess what? We still have an animal that's sick. In animal chiropractic, I'll see a paralyzed dog. I do a couple tests to see if it's viable to receive chiropractic care, and I adjust it. Usually we tell people 3 visits in a week. It's going to cost them somewhere between $300 and $400. And 96% of the time, the animal's up walking better after 3 visits. And they've spent about $400 and now they have their dog back. Yes, there's follow-up care, but there would be that with surgery. Traditional veterinary medicine says you take that paralyzed dog, you go do a $5,000 MRI, and then you go do surgery for another $5,000. And so for $10,000, now we have a dog that's post-surgical and may or may not ever walk.
At what point does it make sense for someone to say, I'm going to have my animal go to the chiropractor before I go to the vet? When does that make sense? What kind of things should they be looking out for?
Almost anything.
Wow.
And here's why. The first organ developed was the central nervous system and brain. That organ controls every physiological reaction in your body and in your dog's body forever. So if you have vomiting, okay, it's because there's something wrong with your GI tract, and it could mean there's an interference in the communication between the brain and the GI tract, not a lack of drugs. One of the things that chiropractors say is that the body has every system in there to heal. We just need to stay out of its way. 3 things cause interference in the nervous system: thoughts, trauma, toxin. Do you have a dog?
I do not, but I grew up with dogs.
Okay. So your school bus got home at 3:45 every day, right?
Yeah.
Your dog was waiting for you at 3:45. If that school bus was running 5-10 minutes late, your dog, well, how can that be traumatic? Oh my God, he's abandoned me. Where's he at? Oh, there he is. Phew. You have a change in schedule in your house. You have anything like that can be traumatic for your dog. And then they get the subluxation, and maybe it's the nerve to the gut, maybe it's the nerve to the kidney, maybe it's the nerve to the right front leg. It starts as thought. Toxins. In 1978, there were 7,500 known false estrogen compounds in the world. In 2008, there were 75,000. How many more toxins are there in the world? And those are all man-made. We made them all.
What's a typical day like? Do you see all types of animals? Do you work with primarily small animals, large animals? What's the day like for you?
Usually, like if we're doing small animals, we'll see all small animals. They'll bring them to us. A lot of times we'll drive someplace to look at a bunch of horses or a herd of cattle or, a bunch of production sheep. We know that chickens, when we adjust chickens, they gain faster. 74% of consumers prefer a chiropractically adjusted chicken.
Wow. So I'm curious, how did you come across those numbers? Because that's amazing. It's so cool.
We actually did two studies. So the first one was accidental. We did it here at our ranch, and then we repeated it at our ranch. And we sent some chickens to a 5-star chef, and he didn't know what was going on. And we had sent him some adjusted and non-adjusted chickens. And he said definitely the adjusted chickens were more flavorful and tenderer than the non-adjusted chickens. And then we had some 4-H kids decided that they were going to repeat that study. And so they repeated the study, found out the chickens grew faster, had a higher dressing percentage, which is important for the farmer, means they got more money per chicken. They actually had the chickens made into chicken strips. And at the fair, they gave people a sample of adjusted chickens and non-adjusted chickens, and 74% of the people preferred the chiropractically adjusted chicken.
That is amazing. When it comes to the actual treatment and the financing of it, so I've never had experience with this growing up, but I know a number of friends that have encountered, you can insure your animals and get health insurance for your pets. Does that enter into the world of animal chiropractics? Can people, is there, to your knowledge, is there any insurance that covers that, or is it, oh, it's all out of pocket?
No, there is insurance that covers it. Sometimes it's not worth it to use your insurance. It's better off just to pay out of pocket, but it just depends on your animal and how many adjustments we're getting and all that kind of stuff. But it's usually not cost comparative. It's usually more economical to go to the chiropractor than it is to the veterinarian.
Interesting. Yeah, because I've heard some of these vet bills are astounding.
Yes. And it's not uncommon for people to come to us as a last ditch effort. You said when to go first, and I would just, one of the things is that every animal chiropractor knows what is not chiropractic. Not every veterinarian knows what is chiropractic.
How common are animal chiropractors? Because like that, I've never heard of one before prior to me
Right.
finding you. Are they very common now? Are they gaining popularity? What's that like?
They're really gaining popularity. There's more and more all the time. More and more states are changing their laws to make who can do animal chiropractic, because chiropractors don't learn chiropractic in chiropractic school, animal chiropractic in chiropractic school. Veterinarians don't learn chiropractic in veterinary school. So it requires advanced training, which we have. So any veterinarian or chiropractor can become an animal chiropractor. You have to be a veterinarian or chiropractor first. Okay. In fact, we have a lot of students that come through our program are chiropractors that have no intention of ever adjusting a human. They're gonna just do animals. So they got their chiropractic license, and then they immediately come here and take the animal program, and we start them on how to adjust animals.
What's that program like where you have it? Is it a 6-month program, a year? What's it like?
It's 240 hours at your pace. You have to be within 2 years of graduation from vet school or chiropractic school to get started.
Is it all that in person? Is there any kind of like an online component or study on your own component, or it's all hands-on?
Our program is 240 hours, like I said, and it's 139 hours online. You can take at your rate, and then there's 3 trips to Dallas, to our ranch here outside Dallas, and it's you have to come to module 1 once, you have to come to module 2 after module 1, and then module 3. And currently module 1 is offered 12 times a year. Module 2 and module 3 are each offered 6 times a year.
Let's talk about this. I think we touched on this. I can't remember before I started recording or after we started recording. We talked about different states and maybe regulations that go along with different states. Is there anything that someone should do ahead of time before they pursue a program like this, where they might not be able to practice in their state or something like that? Does anything like that exist?
Well, all veterinarians, if you're a veterinarian boom, automatically you can add animal chiropractic to your repertoire. If you're an employed veterinarian, yeah, maybe you want to check with your boss, because there's some veterinarians that think it's voodoo medicine, and so they may frown on you doing that. But there are some boss veterinarians that are like, oh my God, yes, we'd love to add that to our practice, but nobody's ever said, hey, let's do it. So they may even help you pay for it. Chiropractors, laws are changing all the time, and it's really getting more and more proactive on changing the laws. But one of the things you don't want to do is call the veterinary or the chiropractic group, because that will put you on the radar. So what we recommend is you go to the American Veterinary Chiropractic Association website and look for a doctor in your state. And when you do that, a list of all the doctors will come up. Like in Texas, I think there's 75 doctors. And you start to look at how many are chiropractors and how many are veterinarians. In Texas, it's a little more chiropractors than veterinarians. Okay. Even though some of the chiropractors are like, oh, it's really hard to practice in Texas because you have to have a referral. Well, one of the things we teach is how to get the referral. So it's not a big deal. Now, there are some states that require direct supervision. But if you look, there's still chiropractors practicing. I know a doctor that's in Pennsylvania, which requires direct supervision. I know 3 chiropractors that are doing great with direct supervision because they've developed repertoires with the veterinarians. And so it really, there's only, Alabama is really difficult for a chiropractor to practice in, and New York.
Now, I know a lot of professionals, they also have to do like CE credits throughout a series of years. Yeah. If someone is a chiropractor and then they go down this road, or if they're a veterinarian and they go down this road, do they have 2 different sets of continuing education requirements they have to do? How does that work? Do you know?
Yes, they have 2 different sets of continuing education requirements. However, like we have we do a lot of CE. We have over 3,000 hours of CE available. Some of our CE is dual. Like, for instance, we have a food animal adjusting course coming up for chiropractors that are already, and veterinarians that are already certified in animal chiropractic. They can come to the food animal weekend, and it's 18 hours of animal chiropractic, or sorry, 22 hours of animal chiropractic CE and 18 hours of chiropractic CE, and we're working on getting some veterinary CE.
Now, do you find that when you're working with these animals, do you find that you're working with more small animals, more large animals, a healthy mix? What does that look like for you?
Well, it all depends on what where you devote your energy is what will come back to you. We have a chiropractor, one of our friends, that went to chiropractic school, and her intention was to adjust barrel horses and people because she was a barrel racer. Her practice is 90% pigs and cattle because she found out she really liked it. She was really good at it. And that's what she does. And she only does that 3 days a week. She does it Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That allows her to go to the barrel race and do her thing. Now, for a long time, when she went to barrel races, she took her portable table so she could adjust people and her adjusting bale so she could adjust horses.
Doctor, I am running a little short on time, but one thing I like to do when I'm speaking with someone is to give them the opportunity to talk about a project they're working on, a cause they believe in, more about your business or organization. So if there's something you'd like to talk about, the floor is yours.
Let's get out of the medical mindset first. Adjust, drugs, surgery in that order, and check the side effects of drugs. The first place you should take your dog, your cow, your horse, whatever, go find an animal chiropractor.
Doctor O, this is some just really, really awesome information. All the requirements leading up to it, the fact that this occupation exists, the information you've given us has just been awesome. But it's been absolutely awesome having you on Time We Discuss as we learned what it's like to be an animal chiropractor.
It's amazing.